So, are you a good runner? Come on, let's find out together the Running Otaku way. Hello everyone! Thanks once again for tuning into Running Otaku. I am the Running Otaku, and today we're going to be talking about age-graded performances. So, to answer the question on whether or not you are a good runner, I'm going to use my trusty iPad today. Okay, before delving into answering that question, I wanted to first talk about different kinds of running levels. So the first level I see are those that are running for enjoyment or for personal improvement. And I think this is actually probably my favorite level, right? If you're a pure runner, you're just going out there lacing up your shoes. You don't care how long or how far, you're just doing it for the love of it. Likewise, if you're running for personal improvement, perhaps you're trying to lose some weight, or maybe you've even been stricken with cancer and you're fighting to get your body back, right? These are truly inspirational runners. And if you're at that level, well, congratulations. The second level are those that just have the dream of finishing a race, right? They've started for a little bit and they're thinking to themselves, can I run a 5K? What would it be like to run a half marathon? Or do I dare dream to be able to race a full marathon? So that's the second level. The third level are those that have started to race and are now thinking in terms of time-oriented goals, and typically, round number goals like breaking 30 for the 5K, or perhaps 2 hours for the half, or maybe even 4 hours for the full marathon. And then runners being runners, some of us are a bit competitive. We start looking around in the races in our own age groups, wondering, can we be in the top 3 of our local race? Or maybe, can we be, on the podium for our age group for a larger race, let's say 1,000 people or so. And then perhaps, okay, I've got that, but now can I actually win my age group in a really big race of 5,000 runners or more? And then next, national class. And this is basically, can I make my country's Olympic team? I'm never getting anywhere close to that. And then world class. But, those are typically kind of the levels that I see in terms of runners. Okay, so July 28th last year, I ran the Bowerman 5K, which is held at Nike's headquarters in Beaverton, which is just outside of here in Portland. And as a 47-year-old, I ran 18:22, and boy, did I feel great. I thought I was the best thing ever. Who at 47 can run that fast? And I was so proud of myself. And by the time, I finally stopped patting myself on the back just long enough to look at the leaderboard. And when I did, this is what I saw. I was only 11th, and that's just the Masters category, right? Minutes behind the winners. So nowhere near the top. Now, admittedly, some of these guys are national class, right? They're running 15 and 16 minutes, as Masters. And I'm nowhere near that. So it was quite a humbling experience for me. Okay, with that said, let's talk about age grading. So, this is basically a form of handicapping to see where we stand relative to other runners that are of different ages. So here's how it works. This is a plot, for instance, for the 10K road race of the world's known fastest times for each age. So for example, some amazing 6-year-old looks like they ran around 47 minutes or so for the 10K. And you can see how the times drop when people get older and older. And then goes back up. So here there was an amazing 85-year-old that ran, looks like around 49 minutes for the 10K. I mean, well, my first goal is just to be alive at age 85. And if so, I'm hoping I can still walk decently. But a 49-minute 10K, it's outstanding. Okay, so let's take a look at this in a little bit more depth. So the world record for the 10K road race is 26:43. Now, I believe the track 10K world record is about 30 seconds faster, but for the road, 26:43. And for example, if we look at, let's say, a 44-year-old, the world's best known time is 29:04. So to get the age grade for that runner, we simply divide the two. And so that means for 44-year-olds, the age grade is 0.9197. So you get, 8.03% or so handicap if you are a 44-year-old runner compared to someone who's in their prime. And so you can use these factors to figure out where you stand vis-a-vis someone else of a much different age. You just simply take your times and multiply it by your respective age grade, and you can see who has the lower number. So this graph is actually plotting all of those age-graded factors, and in this case it's for women, and the distance is the marathon. And so you can see this, it peaks, the flat part at the top, the plateau, is the women's prime. So for the marathon, that's around 20 to age 32. So every woman in that age group would get a age grade factor of 1, so no handicap. If you are a 35-year-old woman, you're just barely on the other side of your prime. So that's 0.7% below. So that means you'd get a 0.7% handicap if you were to compare yourself to a woman in the marathon between 20 and 32. Then at age 45, the handicap grows to 6.8%. So 6% overall from 35 to 45. So that means each year you would expect your performance to slow by about 0.6%. And then from age 45 to age 55, it drops another 11%. So that means each year in that range, about a 1.1% degradation. And then 55 to 65, again, about 11% difference. So again, 1.1% drop in performance for each year between ages 55 and 65 for the women. Now for the men, the graph looks almost identical. And here as well, the prime is about age 19 to 32. No handicap there. Male who's 35 gets a handicap of 0.5%. And then from 35 to 45, you can see times drop off about 6%. So, 0.6% slowing per year between 35 and 45. And then looks like an 8% difference from 45 to 55. So 0.8% slowdown per year in that age range. And then from 55 to 65, it looks like almost 9%. So almost 0.9% slowdown in marathon performance for men between 55 and 65. So again, you can use these age-graded factors to compare how you race versus, let's say, an 18-year-old. You just multiply your age grade factor times your times, and whoever has the faster result was the better runner that day. Okay, so if we go back to those different levels of running, let's focus in on those that are, competing for the podiums. So if you are, for example, let's say you're trying to get on the podium for a small local race of fewer than 500 runners, you need an age grade of about 70%. Now, what this means is it does not mean you are in the 70th percentile of all runners overall. Far from it, you're probably closer to 90%. What it's saying is that you need to run about 70% as fast as the fastest runner in the world for your age. Now, if you want to get on the podium of a larger race, top 3 in your age group for a 1,000+ entry race, then you need to be within 80% of the world's fastest time for your age for that distance. Then if you actually want to try and win your age group at a pretty large race, right, 5,000 people, you need to have an age grade of about 85%. And if you want to make your Olympic team for your country, you need about a 95% age graded performance. So good luck with that. So let's look at the 3 that are at least kind of within the realm of feasibility, at least for, all but the top, 0.1% of us. So for women here, these 3 columns represent getting on the podium for your age group in a small race, getting on the podium for your age group again in a medium race, and then actually winning your age group in a large race. And the percentage is 70, 80, 85 as we just discussed. So let's take an example. Let's say you are a 45-year-old woman who is focused on the half marathon. So to make the top 3 in a small race for your age group, you're probably looking at around hour 40. Now this can vary. If you're in a hotbed of running, it might be much faster. If you're in an area where people are just running casually, it could be much slower, but on average. Okay, and then for that 45-year-old woman, if she's trying to get on the podium for her age group in a medium-sized race, that's about an hour 28 she needs for the half. And then if she's trying to win her age group in a large race, wow, she needs to run about 123. Good for you. Okay, so let's look at the min. And we'll take a different scenario. Let's say a 55-year-old male who's focused on the marathon. So to get in the top 3 for that, 55 to 59 age group, probably needs around a 3:25 marathon. And then to get in the podium for his age group for, a 1,000-person race, probably just under 3 hours, which is pretty quick, right, for 55. And then if he wants to win his age group in a large race, 2:49. Okay, now I know what I need to do in a few years. Okay, so there you go. And you can see here on these charts kind of different ages and different races what you would need. So what I did was I wanted to take a look at my last year to see how I performed. I was essentially 47 all year. And in the mile, I ran 5:21, which I was pretty happy with. And it was a, let's see here, 77.4% age-grade performance. Then I ran a 5K, that Bowerman I spoke of earlier. And there, 78.4%. So I got trounced by the local competition because there's a lot of great Masters runners here. But in the big scheme of things, I guess it wasn't that bad, right? A 78% age-graded performance is pretty good. And then the 10K I ran, let's see, I ran a 38.50, which was 77.2%. So all 3 of these are within a pretty tight band of 77 to 78%. So I ran pretty consistently relative performances for each of those. Then the marathon, which was my most proud race, the race of which I was most proud, I guess, last year, 3:09.12. And I was super happy with that, but it turns out it was only a 71.8% age grade. So I think what happened here is that in order to be competitive in the marathon, you have to really be an aerobic monster. And I basically only had about 5 months of training after many years of laying off of serious training before this marathon. So I ran well, but I have a long way to go to reach my aerobic capacity. And that's what's exciting for me because I know I've got a much higher ceiling there and could do much better in the marathon. Okay, so that's what I did. How did you do? Well, if you go onto the internet and you go to this website here, mastersathletics.net, click the age-graded calculator link towards the bottom, and then you fill in your age, the type of race you're running, and if you're male or female. It will give you and the time you ran for that event, it'll give you the age-graded performance. And what I think would be pretty interesting is if you're comfortable with it, go ahead in the comments section and enter your age-graded performances for whatever races you ran last year in 2018. This isn't a bragging session. It's just to get a handle on who is watching, right? Are there people here that are really, really good, that are national class or close to it, from whom we can learn a lot? Or maybe on the other hand, everyone here is kind of earlier in their career, just trying to improve, which would be super helpful as well. And would help me determine, what kinds of things I need to focus on and how we should steer the discussion. Okay, so after all of this, let's get back to the original question. Are you a good runner? Well, here's how the running otaku would answer that question. Here's what I'd say. If your age-graded performance is less than 50%, I'd say that you're probably just getting started, and that's great, right? We need many, many people like you in the community so that we can grow the sport. So fantastic. If you're in the 50 to 60% range, you're probably already beating the goals you've set for yourself, at least early on, maybe that 30-minute 5K. And you're really starting to get excited and invigorated by your improvement and getting better and better each day. If you're in the 60 to 70% range, especially if you're in the higher end, closer to 68, 69, 70, then I'd say you're good, right? You're good enough for your age group to qualify for Boston, which is fantastic. That's a lifelong goal for many, many runners. If you're in the 70 to 80% age group, then you're even better, right? Now you're good enough to qualify for the more stringent global marathons like Berlin or New York City. If you're in the 80 to 90% range, you are just great. And I hope to be able to see you at the finish line one day. I'm a long way off from there. And then if you're 91 to 100%, there's nothing I can say other than, can I have your autograph? Fantastic. So How did you perform on the age-graded performance? If you're comfortable, I'd love for you once again to enter it in the comment section, and let's find out who we have watching this channel. So that wraps it up for today. Thanks again so much for watching. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click the like button. If you really liked what you saw, then go ahead and click subscribe and that little bell next to it. That way, every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified right away. That's it for today. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.